Welcome, people to the World Wide Web, and it's movie review time. So, finally managed to get out of the house and watch something this week. So, we are starting, or this is a review for The Whale. Any of you that have been on the channel know that obviously this was one of the 8 films I really wanted to see from last year. So, high expectations were very high going into it. And yeah, we shall see how it goes. Right, so let's get started. So anybody that doesn't know, obviously the premise of The Whale is basically Brendan Fraser. He plays a online teacher, specifically English, and unfortunately, due to a set of events in his life, he has not necessarily given up the will to live, but has gone into a stage where he is eaten so much food that he has got to a size where mobility is limited, and a lot of other things. The film starts off with his friend and his carer coming in and looking after him, and him having issues. There is it does open up to a scene where he is pleasuring himself over porn, and it's gay porn. Just so obviously, so that was a bit of a shock to the system to not come into that, but obviously the reason for that there, I think, is to kind of open up doors to show that obviously he is gay, and to kind of, it is a real, that is what gay men do. So yeah. So his friend obviously comes in and helps him out, and there's also a young lad who is kind of a preacher for God or not. I say I won't. I'll try and not keep the spoilers down. So he's a character. So it's more or less all based in the main character George's apartment, really, and it is set over the span of a week, which obviously is quite good. So it's So obviously you kind of meet all the characters, and then you understand George's situation, and this is what leads him to then start contacting people and stuff, and this is how the story progresses. The story is good. It has some good elements in there. Some didn't necessarily connect with me myself. I think very much so, and this is just obviously my opinion, that the feeling I got, obviously this is based in America, and I want to say Idaho, but I'm not quite sure. I can't remember from last night, but the exact. But yeah, basically, so obviously there are quite a few themes in here. Obviously, you have religion is covered, specifically from his lad. It mentions his church and his friend, who's kind of his carer and stuff. There are aspects of the church relate to her as well and him. Obviously, obesity is, and shutting down issues and stuff, and then obviously it's just like a kind of not weird family dynamic. Obviously, I say I don't want to give too much away straight off the bat, so I'm trying to be as vague as I can, and then we'll go into a spoiler section, and then I'll let you know everything that I know. But basically, it's just his relations with the people in his life, his ex-wife, his daughter, and obviously, as I've already responded, obviously he has had a gay partner. But yeah, unfortunately, I think as the trailer says, obviously there is something bad happens in his life, and this causes him to kind of regress away from everything. And like, under everything, he is a nice character, a nice guy. Unfortunately, a lot of bad things have happened to him. As I say, I liked the film. I thought it was good. I know obviously the critics now have rated it really, really well. Now, for me, it didn't hit home as much as I thought it would do because of all the hype. Now, that could just be the hype, and I've maybe had higher expectations and stuff. The acting is really good. Everyone that's in it plays their part really, really well. I think personally why that is because of obviously where it's based and stuff. Obviously in America, I know there are a lot of religious, not sects, or there's religious churches. That is why it is always Sunday you go to church and stuff, and that is a big thing of you know, the communities and stuff out there, the same way with obesity is a really condition over there. And I think these subject matters, because they're not too close to me, you know. I have been to church, and I, you know, when I was younger, but not, you know, I'm an atheist, it's not for me. Obesity, I do know a few people who are not slim, but not into the grand schemes of what this person is. Whereas I think it's a lot more commonplace in America, and a lot more stuff, and I think a lot more relatable to a lot more people. And I think this is where it actually hits home, you know. And there are a lot, say, even with Charlie, the main character, there are a lot of underlying issues that causes him to be the way he is, and it's not necessarily directly, I think, on him. But yes, okay, so we'll rate it here, and then we'll go into things. So honestly, I gave it a 6 out of 10. As I say, I thought it was a really good film, definitely worth a watch. I say, like, Brendan Fraser, it is one of his best roles that he has done, emotional wise, and what he plays on, obviously having the bodysuit and getting around, and how they portray a lot of stuff, and the interactions between the characters, really good, I say. But just for me, I say it, that 6 to where, like, I would normally class a 7, it's really good. I just didn't connect as much with the film as I thought I was going to be. You know, so it was one of my top 8 films to watch, and it was a good film, but as a comparison of, there are a few similarities to A Man Called Otto that I watched, and I thought that was a far better film, but that's just because I could maybe relate a little bit more to stuff, or I thought it came across a lot better, but personal opinion. So there we are. So obviously 6 out of 10. Obviously quite a good film, right? So spoiler alert now. Let's get into the spoilers, and I'll just ruin anything for you. So if you've watched up to this point, you know, and you think it sounds all right, or you've watched a trailer and you think it's good, definitely go and watch it, and don't watch the rest of this until you've seen it. And then obviously you can let me know in the comments what your views, if I'm right, or if you feel I'm right or wrong, or if there was something I missed, because I'm more than happy to go watch the film again a second time. But anyway, so we'll spoil on. So obviously, as I told you, obviously he is gay, and this is where the story progresses. He was married, he had a child. When the child was fairly young, I think 6 or 7, no, 8 even, one of his students, he realised that he was gay with, and then they had a relationship, and the mum kind of screwed him, or not screwed, didn't want him more or less to be a lot of his life. The lad he was with is brother to his friend who's a carer, and unfortunately, due to him being disowned from the church because he is gay and stuff like this, he ends up killing himself, and this is the bad event that happens. I think it happens 3 years before the film starts, and then obviously this is where Charlie, he claims himself as a big lad, but I don't think in the pictures that, like, it shows Brendan Fraser as he is, and he's not a big person. But yeah, that, you know, that's it, and it's just how his life, you know, kind of degrades over that, and unfortunately, you know, his friend is trying to bet, and I do feel very much for his friend as well. I think her name is Lynn. Her brother died because he didn't eat and stuff, and then he killed himself, and then, like, her other friend, who's his partner, is more or less dying as well. Like, literally straight off the bat, it's like he's got congestive heart failure, and this is why it's a week. It's literally, he will be dead by the end of the week, and this is where you go along lines of he interacts with these characters, and kind of you learn more. Like, he realises he's dying, and that's why he wants to reconnect with his daughter, Sadie, from the girl from Stranger Things. I'll probably put her name up there. Yeah, she is really good as his daughter, and you can see that there are connections there. But yeah, it's like a recurring theme that he doesn't want to go to hospitals, and there's, you know, because he says he doesn't want to waste money, and that's the whole point, because he's saved like over 100,000 for his daughter. And again, this is a little bit I don't want to feature in the first bit that didn't kind of connect to me. The priest, the young lad, the preacher guy, who you find out story, there is more to his character. He has done part and for his priest family at his home would disown him, so he robbed a load of money from their petty cash box, and then basically moved away. And Charlie's daughter, she basically helps him reconnect, and when he comes in and says, you know, like, she's helped me reconnect with my family, I've seen the pictures of me smoking weed and money, and they've said money is just money, It's the fact they love him, and that I thought was a really good thing. And I thought there was going to be some undertone that literally Charlie, even though he's got 100,000 and he's got congestive heart failure, that at some point someone's going to get, you know, he's going to realise he needs to go to the hospital. He needs to have a heart transplant and sort himself out, because he's missed 8 years of his daughter's life, and him being around for at least a few more years of his daughter's life, actually being a father figure, is so much more than giving her 100,000, in my opinion. And that was, and I say, that was a little bit that didn't kind of ring true with me. And you do notice, like, and even I think Aaron Aronofsky directs it and stuff, and his ending of, like, Charlie gets up and walks over to him, which mirrors something that his daughter asked him to do earlier on, and he's reading this poem, and the poem that he links to his daughter was really good, and I quite liked that. But he then kind of floats off into a flash of light, and it doesn't kind of explain where it goes, because, I say, he connected with his daughter after all these years for a week, and then dies in, literally probably would have been in front of her, or even the fact because he walks over to her, and obviously he is a very large man, his weight is situated in front of him, there is a good chance he could have fallen on her, which was part of my concern, that something, you know, which is the last thing you want is to die and then crush your daughter. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but yes, there were little bits like that. I mean, I would have loved maybe a bit more of a clearer ending, you know, that, like, his partner, when he dies and he doesn't eat and stuff, they mention little bits, but they don't cover that in full. You don't really know bits like that, and I would have loved to have seen more of that story filled out, you know, to understand more Charlie's mindset of how he got, because you only see one or two flashbacks where he's, I will say, skinny, or his, like, normal self, and then you have what I assume that's why the film's called The Whale, because he is so large, and you don't get to see it, and you see, like, obviously he reacts bad to stuff, and obviously maybe anxiety or stuff, and then he goes to eat, and then he doesn't want to eat, and then he eats even more, and binges at some point because of how people look at him. But there are more people, you know, where are the people that are trying to actually help him? His friends trying to help him, and she has done everything above and beyond after losing her brother and thinking he's poor to help him out. And it shows that there's some revelations of, she went through quite a lot. Like, I think her van broke down in the middle of winter and she had to walk like several miles to his house, because she didn't think he had a lot of money, and, you know, and there was nobody she could borrow money off, where he had like thousands of pounds at the bank. And I'm thinking, like, even though you're saving it for your daughter, surely you need to consideration your friend, you know, say you could have helped your life a little bit. And this is, I really wanted to know his mindset of where he was, you know. I'm sure it's, you know, it's not a mindset I've been in, where you got married, you had a child, and you realise, you know, this isn't for me, and you find somebody that you love and that's what you want to be with. And, you know, that was where it was. But it's that then spiral of how you leave your family behind, and you have much contact, but the wife doesn't want you to have much contact, and then from there you haven't really spoken to her or anything, and it's 8 years later, and I say, this is this big void that your partner's died and there's this stuff happened, and because you only revisit little bits of it, it does leave me a little bit wondering, and maybe that's why I think it's a 6 and maybe not a 7 or an 8, and I say, and the themes and stuff. But anyway, I could dissect this film to death. I say, I'm really interested. If somebody else has seen it, please do, comment down below. As I say, I do think it is a good film. Brendan Fraser, I do think it is really, really good acting. You know, I do hope he gets the Oscar. Unfortunately, because there is so much hype and he's won the other awards, I think, as it normally happens, he probably won't get the Oscar for it. But I feel he should do, or at least he's getting the recognition now that he deserves to maybe go on to do other films, and then he gets something there. I feel he deserves it. But anyway. So this has been the review of The Whale. Again, 6 out of 10, good film. I would recommend go watching it. I've been Cypher Sigma, and I'll see you in the next one.